Welcome to this week's Harness Racing Alumni Show. I'm Freddie Hudson, and I'm here as always with Trade Martin and Bob Marks. This week's Harness Racing Alumni Show is sponsored by Winbak Farm Canada's newest staffing, Captain's Quarters. The son of Captain Treacherous is standing his first season with a stud fee of $5,000 Canadian. For more information or to book a breeding, call 905-838-2145 or email stallions@winbakfarm.com. Captain's Quarters. Also, the Meadowlands Racetrack. Visit playthemeadowlands.com. And Hunterton Farm, breeding champions year after year. Visit huntertonfarm.com.
The Harness Racing Alumni Show with your hosts, Freddie Hudson and Trade Martin.
On this week's Harness Racing Alumni Show, we are joined by former driver, trainer, and owner, and who currently is one of the admin for the Pocono Downs memory site, John Kraft. John, welcome to the Harness Racing Alumni Show again.
Well, thanks for having me again. Last one was awesome. We covered a lot of ground, and I can't thank you enough. It's like such an honor for me.
Last week we had Judy Bachman on with you, and we covered a lot of stuff about the cruelty that goes on with the horse slaughter and stuff like that, and the horses being shipped out there. I'm also going to make a little bit of an announcement right now. Today, they are doing a markup on the ISA bill, not the ISA bill, the SAFE Act, where they are still trying to get it included into the farm bill. And there's a possibility that might happen, but the markup is today, and we participated with the ASPCA, and yesterday basically sending out letters to all the members of the House and stuff like that, trying to get this thing done.
Wow, so that's big news.
Yeah, well, it's an uphill battle. But John, now you grew up hanging out at Roosevelt and Yonkers Raceway.
Yes, I did.
Now
all those memories.
You were there in the 60s and 70s, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Some of my earliest memories would be my dad throwing me in the back of his lime green Eldorado and running over to the qualifiers at Roosevelt. And I was probably 4 or 5 years old. So it's like my earliest memories. Vividly, I remember walking towards the one side of the grandstand of Roosevelt and just watching these superheroes come to life. And, as I got on in age, 11, I felt very privileged because my dad and my uncle, they owned horses with a lot of trainers. To name a few, Eddie Cobb, Larry Rolla, Buck Norris, Tom Mazza, Joe Mazza, Tom Foster. So I had a little bit of clout. So it was pretty cool. You remember the infamous training track at Roosevelt?
Oh yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Where the drivers and trainers, they would have that one little section at the top of the stretch. The grooms would pull their horses up. So to be an 11-year-old kid and looking around and who do I see? Stanley Dancer, Joe O'Brien, Bill Horton, Lucian, and those guys in my eyes became superheroes, and I had backstage pass to that, so it makes it even more exciting. Imagine being a kid and you're in the dugout with Mantle and Lou Gehrig. That's right.
Well, let me just run down some of the drivers that were there at that time of training. You had the Abatellos, Tony, Carmine, and Matt. And most people forget about Matt. Earl Avery was there, Al Burton, Johnny Chapman, Bobby Cherritz and his brother Zach, Jimmy Cruz and his boys Earl and Jimmy Jr. You had the dancers, Harold Dancer, Vernon Dancer, Stanley, and then later on Donald. And then you have Norman Dubois was there, his son Jeff, Johnny Edmonds, Bob Farrington was there for a while, Hervé and Henry, Luce. Buddy Gilmore, and as I said, the Houghtons, my dad, Del Ensko, the Myers. You had Billy Meyer, Alan Meyer, Ellis Meyer, Paul Meyer, Robert Meyer, Eddie Meyer. They were all there. the Pattersons,
Wow.
John Seniors and Junior,
Yeah.
George Phelan, the Pop Fingers, Bill and Frank, Russell Rash, Jack Richardson, John Simpson, Frank Tagarello, Schulte, and then towards I guess around the late '60s, Jimmy Tolman came in there. You had Benny Webster there; he came in around '67, and then you had Henry and Dick Thomas, and that's the best I can do from my cheat sheet.
You're pretty good at this. Maybe you should have your own show.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And then also let's give a shout out, like you have Bobby Petrano who came in there, and then you have some of the trainers. You had John Payton, Apples Thomas, who trained the Houghton stable, Buddy Martinez, Bobby Denkow, and Wendy Dejenault, who I think she started out as Wendy Zamora, and then she got married to Regine. But it was an all-star crew of trainers and drivers.
Oh my God, yeah. If we could just go back in time, huh? Oh.
Yep. And you were a big fan of Johnny Chapman's, I believe, right?
Oh yeah. Well, my Uncle Carl was he was a professional gambler for a living. He taught me how to handicap races when I was like 5th or 6th grade. So yeah, going to school, my friends would be like, "What are you reading?" So yeah, he taught me how to handicap, and he always pointed out John Chapman's style, and so I concentrated on that. So yeah, it just cemented the image in my mind that here I am, and hanging out with superheroes, and they come to life every night. It was I don't know, words alone cannot explain it. For people that live that way, they know what I'm talking about.
I remember training over there, and I was always on the track around between 7 and 7:30 was the time that I went out with my first horse. And I can tell you, like the other people that were real early in being on the track were Jimmy Cruz Sr. and Frank Darragh. I always remember seeing them out there very early in the mornings. And most everyone else started around 8-ish. So, but no, it was a lot of fun. And so, and then the locker room, when you start going, where the locker room and the paddock up there, it was just like phenomenal. I mean, it was just a great experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
Trey, hey, you didn't do much racing at Roosevelt or Yonkers?
No. I never did. I just qualified a couple at Yonkers, but I never went out to Roosevelt. I mean, when I went out as a participant, I remember being there one night, and the guys from the Four Seasons were there, who I knew, very well. Frankie Valli and Bob Gaudio and all the guys were there. But no, I never raced out there. No.
Yeah, they used to have a lot of celebrity races, and we'd have the New York Jets racing horses, the Giants racing horses,
right,
Nets racing horses, the Yankees racing horses. Yankees owned a lot of the horses over there. Many of the Yankees.
Well, that was smart because that was a good promo that was a good promo. The guys were, that was a smart thing to do. That's how Monticello. John Manzi used to set up a lot of different things like that up there too. At Monticello.
Yeah, I believe you had Ali.
Go ahead, John.
I believe John Manzi had Ali. I think he drove in one of those celebrity races.
Oh, did he? I didn't know that.
It could have been Monticello, maybe. Yeah.
I know he drove out in I think it was Northfield for some reason. He drove in the race out there. He still holds the world record for the race, I believe. They had it at such an odd distance, and he won it. So I don't think they've ever had a race at that distance ever again since, or before.
It's
like a mile and 3 feet.
Yeah, he's the only guy that did. He's the only guy that did rope-a-dope in a race, huh? He's the only guy that did rope-a-dope. Yeah.
Yep. And then there was one publicity race over there. They had the New York Eyewitness News team over to race, and I remember Joan London raced there.
Oh yeah.
Excuse me. Yeah, Joan London. She don't know where she finished, but and then they had these Geraldo was the starter.
Oh,
he acted as the starter, but they had the whole Channel 7 eyewitness news team there in that race, and that was
my goodness.
Yeah, well, that was of course, that was good because with the superfecta investigation, they had the, you had the witnesses there too, right? You had all the witnesses with the grand jury and everything there. So yeah, it went from the eyewitness news to the grand jury witness.
Actually, they basically ran the superfecta trial. They ran the tapes of some of the races for the jury, and in this one race, it was just funny as hell because the prosecutors up there says, "We want you to watch the way Aaron Everett is holding his horse back in this race and is keeping his horse out of the race, and he doesn't try at all. The race starts, and Carmine jumps up and goes, 'But I'm not in that race.'"
Not kidding.
I mean, wow. That's how funny that trial was.
Yeah, I read your book twice, Freddie. It was good.
Yeah, I try. It's repetitive, but I was trying to put it together as if you were doing a movie to it or a story to it, following along with it, and so it ended up having to be repetitive, which I really didn't want, but that was just the way it came out. But I'll never forget that morning, though, the rest of my life when the FBI had the house surrounded. They were there to arrest my father. I mean, when I opened the door, I had like 20 guys run by me the row in raincoats, and they got these badges out in their hands, and every one of them yelled, FBI, and they threw me up against the wall and held me there. And then, I could hear, then they brought my father down. He was sleeping upstairs. He had been sick. So they brought him down from upstairs, and they took him into, like, the den. And I'm still in the foyer area of the house. And so I could hear everything that they're saying. And they're basically, they told him, they said, "Tell us everything you know, and we'll let you go." My father says, "Go ahead." They say, "What do you know?" He says, "Nothing. Now can I go?"
And your dad was such a sweetheart. Like, they didn't have to go through that. They could have just knocked on his door, and it would have been a gentleman.
All they had to do was call everyone up, and everyone would have been in. But that wouldn't have gotten any headlines, and it was really a headline.
Yeah, they looked for that. Yeah.
Wow.
What year was that? Big show.
Yeah, that was what, early 70s?
That was it's December 73 was when December 20th, 73 is when they arrested everyone, and then the trial took place, and the trial was over by June of 74.
Yeah.
And so they went to trial in March. So
yeah,
there was a lot of funny different things that took place.
Yeah, well, it was a great book. I'd recommend it to anyone, that's for sure. I read it twice.
Yeah, thanks. But that was an interesting experience. And then all of a sudden, I'm now the trainer of the stable, and I started the morning off of December 21st with 15 horses, and by noon I was down to 10.
Really?
Yeah.
So you had the eyewitness news at the race, and then you had the witness protection race. That's what you needed. When is the witness protection?
It was a lot of fun racing at Roosevelt. I mean, and Yonkers back then, and it was a lot different than it is today, because we actually raced in front of a live audience. We had 20,000 people during the week, and 30,000 on weekends, and on special race days you'd have 40 to 50,000.
Yeah,
there was a lot of excitement. The crowd brings a lot of excitement to the racing, and I can't explain it. And now you go to the track and there's more people in the paddock than there is in the grandstand.
That's true. Yeah, that's very true.
But John, let's get back to you now. You have the Pocono site going. And you're getting a lot of play on that and a lot of activity from what you're saying and stuff like that. So that's pretty good.
It really took off. I created such a Frankenstein with this. I'm just putting out, like, a couple of stories. I do that once a month story, spotlight on the superstars. And that has reached a level I can't believe it. I don't know how it happened. I guess, one person tells two people, those people tell two, and it just grows. So, I posted, I think just last week, I did a 1 year to date stat with the insights, meaning anybody that clicks, likes, shares, comments, red hearts, green clovers, all the Lucky Charms. So it was 2,674,000 in 1 year's time. I was like, what? But
well, I hope you're monetized. I hope you're monetized in some way.
Yeah, I'm up to about $11. It's not about the money. It's just I just want to keep
another $1, you'll be able to buy a drink.
Maybe.
That's true.
It's not about the money. It's just I'm a big fan of the sport still to this day. It's in my blood. I just want to keep the memories out there because it seems like people are forgetting. Like the horsemen of past, it's not just our blood, sweat, and tears that we put into every racetrack. It's our bones are ground into the stone dust. And we can never forget, like, those people. And, as I flip through Hoofbeats magazine, it just seems like they're lacking talking about history. It's always what happened yesterday and last week and 2025 champions. I think they're just missing out on a big piece. There should be at least a story or two on featuring one horseman. That's where the few racetracks are standing today because of horsemen of the past. So, I'm having fun with it. Mm-hmm.
Didn't you send a letter over to the USDA recommending, or is that writing a letter about Carmine?
Oh, yeah, when Carmine passed. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Actually, I sent it to Hoofbeats. They published a couple of stories in the past about me. So upon hearing the news of Carmine passing, I just opened up and I poured my heart out. And I sent them a beautiful letter that I was hoping they would publish. That was the one I think I forwarded you a copy of that.
Right.
Well, anyway, they didn't publish it. And I was a little upset because when that next month came out, all Carmine got was like a 4-paragraph obituary, and the back page was a picture of his back looking at it, his little setup at the Goshen Historic Park. So I just felt like, in my eyes, like Carmine Abatello was catch driver number one. I'm not saying he was the number one driver. I'm saying he started it all in my eyes. Because you go back in the 1950s, it was always like owner, trainer, driver, groom, plow horse. That's what it was. You had these farmers that they're using their plow horse, and then, the county fair on Saturday, they'd race him. So here comes young Carmine, good-looking guy with all the talents, and he would compliment those trainers. You're doing a good job. The horse looks great. He's in great shape. Give me a shot. Let me drive him. And I believe that's how catch driving caught on. It just stemmed down to basically a few people. And Carmine, I'm calling him number one. I mean, anybody can argue that, but I just see him as he started it all.
Yeah,
I think you're right.
If you go back to before they had the starting gate, they used to have a lot of false starts, which is what the big problem was with the starting gate. It was a psychological game that they played against each other also. They'd jump to start. So the tracks got a little upset about this. And so if they had too many false starts because of the turnover, they would actually take the drivers off the horses and switch the drivers on the horses.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Yeah, that's interesting.
A lot of people don't know that. But the comical was hell. Like, okay, you guys go play this game. I'm putting you down on this horse. And they'd move them, they'd take them off the horse and put them on another horse in the race.
Oh, that's funny.
That's funny. That is funny, yeah.
I believe the first starting gate was called the Phillips starting gate. Am I correct? Freddie, you would know.
Yep.
Yeah, I've heard that too. Sure.
Yeah.
Steve Phillips. And
Freddie, I got to run. John and Fred, okay. I got to run, but I'll talk to you. I'll talk to you later on. Sounds good.
All right.
You guys sound good. Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay, John. It's just you and me. So.
Yeah.
So, do you have any good Chappie stories?
Chappie? Well, yeah. So for this month, Pocono Downs Memories, I'm going to do a story on one person because I did like 66 features this past month, which blew my head up, and it really kept people intrigued, like waiting for the next story. So that was a good twist that I put on that. And well, last month, as we spoke about, it was I teamed it up as father-son, mother-daughter, father-daughter racing family teams, and I split that into 2 divisions, and I got thousands and thousands of responses and everything. It worked out really good. But for this month, I've already announced on the Pocono Downs Memories Facebook page, I'm going to do one story. But this story, it's really going to hit home for me because I've actually been working on this for a long time, just jotting down a memory here and there. And it's going to be titled Meeting Chappie, which you knew what it was right away. It's John Chapman. And right. It's going to be the twist. The twist is the perspective of seeing through all this through the eyes of an 11-year-old boy. So that would be me, and that would be, we spoke about it earlier that my dad had a lot of horses with different trainers, so I had the backstage pass. And again, sitting there Saturday afternoon, morning, with the trainers and the drivers and seeing all those superheroes come to life was thrilling. And in my story, I'm going to incorporate Governor Skipper because it was that year. It was 76. So it was like 2 weeks away from the baby races at Roosevelt. And everybody knew that Governor Skipper was going to be the next greatest thing. And, well, I'm not going to give away all the details in the trailer, but it's going to touch base on that. That I witnessed that, Governor Skipper's baby race, and then his career. I touch base on that. And then, of course, the legend of John Chapman. Fantastic horseman, and he had his hard knocks. He had a barn fire, then he got very sick, and, well, you saw him like the day before he passed away, right?
That was the day that he passed away.
The day that, well, yeah.
I saw him right after the qualifiers, which was probably about 11:30, and I spoke with him just for a few minutes, and then he later on died about that afternoon, like 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, if I remember correctly. So,
wow, so it's another reason why we have to keep memories alive.
And I'll tell you another thing.
Some people don't know. Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't realize, like, he was a top driver up in Buffalo, Batavia before he, the barn fire up there, and he came down to New York. I think it was like 62 or 63. But in 1957, he was one of the top drivers in New York at Roosevelt and Yonkers. He was like
absolutely
fifth or sixth in the driver's standing. This is in 57 or 56. So he was a very talented driver, very talented horseman, and if you had a bad horse, he would be the guy. If you were driving a bad horse in the race, you would hope that he was the guy in back of you.
Yeah, he did have a tender touch with horses that grabbed on, or they'd bear in on the turns or whatever. He kept them together. He knew how to read a horse, that's for sure.
Yep.
I used to study him, scoring down in post parades. But so that's what this month piece will be on, and I'm going to send that over to Hoofbeats too, and I'm going to send him a resume too, which is going to be as thick as an encyclopedia of stuff that I'm going to print highlights from the Facebook Memories page. I'll make that my resume. I'll see what they say.
Right. And right now I'm working on the Yonkers driver trainer tribute. So I'm really digging up a lot of information from the 1950s right now, because it's going to go 1950s, 60s, 70s, right up to present day. And the driver colonies of the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, and it's all fallen into place. But it's a tremendous amount of research, and like some of the guys that race in the 50s, it's hard to find out and figure out who they were. And I got thousands and thousands of drivers to choose from.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So actually, my grandfather was Eddie Cobb's very first owner in mid-50s. Yeah. Used to call him the young punk. It was really annoying. Kept coming in asking for money to buy a horse. Like, you can make a lot of money. They became friends. And then Eddie took my dad and my uncle, under his wing. He was a good guy.
Eddie, was like 21 or 20 years of age when in 1940, and he's one of the drivers that raced on opening night at Roosevelt in 1940 when it opened. And I think he might have been driving horses for his dad at that time, so I'm not 100% sure. But Eddie was another great horseman.
Genghis Khan, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, did really well with him, and Genghis Khan was a great horse. Billy O'Donnell, I think, was driving him for a while. So.
Yeah, he was.
Well, with that, John, I think we might as well close the show out.
Yeah, I had a great time.
Okay. Thank you for joining us today. And I think it's a really pretty good show, and it's very educational. I think people will enjoy it.
Yeah. I can't wait till it airs, and I'm going to share it on my Pocono Downs Memories Facebook page, which, by the way, we added more moderators, group experts, and a new co-administrator. So I look at it this way, as I add more soldiers to my army, Nina Bell Mariani. It just increases the advertising, really. So,
yep. Congratulations on doing a great job. This week's Harness Racing Alumni Show is sponsored by Winbak Farm Canada's newest staffing, Captain's Quarters. The son of Captain Treacherous is standing his first season with a stud fee of $5,000 Canadian. For more information or to book a breeding, call 905-838-2145 or email stallions@winbakfarm.com. Captain's Quarters. Also, the Meadowlands Racetrack. Visit playthemeadowlands.com. And Hunterton Farm, breeding champions year after year. Visit huntertonfarm.com. That's a wrap for this week's show. Thanks for listening, and please join us again next week.
The Harness Racing Alumni Show.